everybody, welcome back to The Buzz. I'm Ivy McKay, and I'm here with my friend Nick Johnson, a Jacksonville native, who's here to talk about his great journey north. So Nick, you spent the past 6 months in Central America studying and going on adventures. You spent January through May studying abroad.
Yes.
And
Costa Rica.
then once your semester ended, you decided to go home a little bit differently than just on a plane. Tell me about that.
Well, like you said, I was living and studying in Costa Rica for the first 4 months of my 6-month adventure down there. And when my semester ended, I didn't have a plan on how I wanted to get home. I chose to keep it that way. So back in December when I bought my ticket, it was just one way. Not knowing what I'd do when May rolled around. And when May rolled around, I decided that I wanted to travel totally by land from Costa Rica back to my home in Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow, so how many miles did you travel?
It was somewhere around 5,000, a little over 5,000, which is the equivalent of going back and forth across the continental United States like 2.5 times.
Wow, and how many countries did you go through?
It was 8 countries.
Wow.
So Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, Mexico, and the United States. All of Central America except El Salvador.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't swing that one.
So you decided to go on this trip. What were you hoping to get out of it?
Well, this wasn't my first time out of the country, and my first experience when I went over to Europe, I was told so much before I went, be careful, there's all this evil in the world, and yes, there is evil in the world, but I had such an amazing time over there. And then with my experience going to Central America, once again, many people told me, oh, you gotta be careful, there's so much crime, drug cartels, everything like that. But every time that someone has told me a place was dangerous, and I've gone to it anyways, I've found so much good there. And I was thinking, wow, what a pity it would have been if I would have listened to these warnings and not have gone and explored and found the beauty in life and not just been afraid of the potential danger. So Central America is very stigmatized here in the United States. So many Americans are afraid of our neighbors down south. I mean, when you listen to the news, especially Mexico, all you hear is the bad stuff. And yes, there's bad stuff, but it's no different than anywhere else in the United States. One bad incident cannot become the perception of the whole. Just like Chicago is not an accurate reflection of Illinois, the shooting in Orlando is not an accurate reflection of all Florida, neither is one drug cartel violence incident indicative of all of Mexico. So with that in mind, I went on this exploration for the good, and that's what I was hoping to find, was the good in our world. I was hoping to put more faith in my Lord and have him lead me home. That's exactly what I found.
Wow. Well, that sounds incredibly inspiring. So when comments do come out about the preconceived notions that America has, what do you say to those kinds of comments?
Well, first off, usually I ask, have you been there? And 99% of the people who would tell you that place is dangerous, or told me that Central America was dangerous, had never been there. or their extent of it was like Belize on a cruise, or like Cancun, which is little America down there. They didn't go inland to see what was real, what the real life is like. So I often encourage them to explore. And now that I've done it, I can tell them, well, you're wrong. It's not that dangerous, or it's not as you see. It's no different than here. I mean, the streets of Jacksonville late at night are just as dangerous as the streets of Mexico City late at night. If you have common sense and general awareness, you avoid 99% of any dangerous situation that could happen to you.
Yeah, I think it's great that you're really breaking down that stereotype. So shifting gears a little bit, what was the most beautiful moment of your trip?
Wow, that's a pretty hard question.
I know you mentioned a family that you stayed with.
Yes, so there was a couple of hardships that I endured on this trip, of course. When I traveled 5,000 miles, if nothing went wrong, it would be like a fairy tale. And maybe the worst part of my entire trip, or would be seen as the worst part originally, was I got really sick in Belize. Really, really sick. I lost like 20 pounds, just couldn't hold anything down. And in the absolute bottom of my sickness, when I was weak, a family took me in central Belize. And this had to be the most poverty I've ever been around in my entire life. literally, their house was like made of scrap wood on the side of the road. But here's this family that took me in that has nothing and outpours their heart, gives me as much as they possibly could to get me better. And I swear they had to dip into savings to give me a bottle of Pepto-Bismol.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just so touching that
Absolutely.
almost a complete stranger,
Yeah.
what they would do for me.
Wow. That's almost unbelievable, which is sad to say, actually, but I'm glad they took you in. So you mentioned your sickness. What other kinds of difficulties did you run into along the way?
Oftentimes, when people find out I did this, they immediately ask, well, did you get robbed, or what was the bad things that happened to you? And I usually shy away from that and not to tell them the bad things that happened to me, because I don't want to reaffirm a misconception that they have by telling them the bad thing, because that's all they're going to focus on for the rest of what to say. So I focus on the good, but then, of course, there was some bad things that happened to me, but by the grace of God, Ivy, I can count them on one hand.
Oh my God.
5,000 miles of travel, and I had just about 5 bad things happen to me, and only one of those was from another person. The other ones were like, I missed a bus connection, had to like sleep in my tent in the woods that night, I got sick. The 2 times, well, there's 2 times that people were involved. One, I crashed a rental motorcycle in Nicaragua, and the guy threatened to call the cops if I didn't pay for the repairs.
Oh my God.
But that was fine. And then the second one is I did get robbed at knife point in Nicaragua, but it couldn't have been like a better robbing situation, because all they wanted was a bike I was riding.
Oh, wow.
I had money, I had a phone, my backpack, everything. All they wanted was my bike. So I get on the bike, and that was it. And that was like God's way of waking me up, because that happened on day 3 of a 2-month journey. So if I kept screwing up, who knows where I would be. But right at the beginning, he was like, straighten up, man. Keep your awareness.
Wow. So was there any one moment or interaction that you had that was truly impactful?
Yes. So when I was in Mexico, I ended up meeting more people and inviting in. That was one of my themes of my trip. There's many themes, but one was new friends and free food. And there's this lady, this older woman, in the most dangerous part of Mexico, Tamaulipas. It's the border state of Texas. That's where a lot of drug movement happens. And I asked her, I was like, are you afraid of any like drug activity in the area? And she said, mira, todo mundo está tranquilo si usted piensa. Y todo mundo está peligroso si usted piensa también. She said, look, if you think the world is dangerous, it's exactly what you're going to see. But if you think the world is beautiful and peaceful, that's exactly what you want to see. So you choose your attitude every day. Yes, there could be danger, but if you're looking for the good, you're exactly going to find it.
Oh, I like that a lot. So after 2 months in your home, what is it like to be back in Jacksonville?
It's a little strange, to tell you the truth, because before arriving in Jacksonville, I hadn't slept in the same bed for more than 3 nights in 2 months. So waking up on like the 5th day, I was antsy. I was like, what am I doing? Did I miss my bus or something? I need to move. But it's been a slow adjustment. There's just a lot here, a lot of comfort, a lot of stuff. I lived out of a backpack with 4 shirts for 2 months. Now I have a closet, so that's a small example, but it's a little overwhelming, but I'm slowly readjusting. I cut the beard, cut the hair, that's helping a little bit.
Well, that's good. It sounds like you're having a good time even though you're back at home.
Yes, I am.
So it's obvious that you're big on travel. Where are you headed next?
Well, I've spent so much time outside the borders of our country. I think I need to spend some time within them, because we have such a huge, beautiful country.
Absolutely.
But I've been so interested on leaving, which is, I mean, the whole world's beautiful, but I've lived in Jacksonville my entire life, 18 years, and I've never been out of Miami.
Wow.
5 hours away.
Yeah.
In Costa Rica, I was doing like 16-hour round-trip weekend trips, weekend adventures. So why not go to Miami?
Yeah.
So I think I want to travel around the States a little bit. Maybe be a nomad. I'll float around, right, find a place, I'll stay, get a job, save some money, keep floating.
Well, that sounds awesome. Bon voyage.
Thank you.
Any last words
Mercy.
for us?
Well, after this 2 month trip, I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could sum up everything into 2 sentences, this would it be. We live in a beautiful world. You shouldn't be afraid of it, but embrace it. And your life is going to be exactly who you want it to be. And a life with God is a life without limits. You can do anything if you set your mind to it.
Wow, really well said. Nick, thanks so much for being here. I'm so glad you got to come in and we could talk more about your journey and spread your message. If you want to learn more about Nick's great journey north, feel free to click the link below. Thanks so much again, Nick. We'll
Thank
see
you
you
for having
guys
me.
next time on The Buzz.